Oh, hello, are we live? I see some numbers. Are we up and running? Hello, Catherine. Hello. You can hear me, right, by the way? Excellent. I'm rocking a new microphone today, so do let me know how it sounds at your end and so forth. And hello to those who've joined so far. I'll just scroll back here. I see Tish in the chat, good. And hello, quite a few people actually. Cynthia, Anne, William, Kirsty, Karen. Oh yeah, Karen, you're saying you're from you live near Stockport and worked there for many years before moving to North Manchester. Nice, yeah. So yeah, I'm surprised by how many people from Stockport it seems in from the old Hago community. That's exciting stuff. Who else? Elizabeth, say hello. And who else? Mark, hello. And what was that building in the photo? Well, I'm looking at a boarded up shop actually, but I'll just swing the camera around and give you the pre-tour, just like in the old-fashioned days. I should probably address the whole episode that I had earlier in the week, as I'm just going to see if I've missed anyone. Diane, hello. Rock and roll, that's a great name. And Claire, hello. Dara, Joe Easton. I live down the road. Yeah, a lot of Stockportians, it seems, isn't there? Who else? Mark, yeah, this is just a day trip, so I came to Manchester. I got a night bus from London, and I've been filming in Derbyshire actually, because I took the train from Manchester Piccadilly to Buxton, and so I've been to Buxton, Chapel on Frith, and Whalley Bridge, and what's the name? New Mills. Some great towns in this neck of the woods. Buxton, yeah, Karen, is amazing, and hello, Filthy Vegan from Saigon. Hello. Yeah, we've got some interesting artwork here as well, and LC, hello. So yeah, so I'm doing a pre-tour like I used to, and just making sure the focus is okay, and so yeah, I did experiment, as some of you may know, with an intro video, and that didn't go according to plan, I'll just say that much. I also tried to do so with a different streaming app, which it went well in rehearsal, so to speak, in private tours, but for whatever reason it decided to do a number on me in the actual tours there, which was embarrassing, but we learned from our mistakes. Mark, you were in Bakewell earlier. Bakewell's lovely as well, yeah. The tramp sign in front used to be a cafe warehouse you worked in. They made it sound which had a Dodgem car in it. Oh wow. Oh, you mean this one here with the artwork? Picture and sound good. That's good to hear. And yeah, by the way, I'm rocking a new microphone today, so I finally invested in one of these Lavalier mics. So yeah, if it needs adjusting the position wise, do let me know, of course. And yeah, so. But then it got me thinking as well that maybe a sort of a slick professional intro video isn't necessary. Maybe this is the best intro, this little pre-tour that we tend to have from back in the Hago days, and gives it maybe a more personal touch than what would have otherwise been the case. So but yeah, a few Tudor buildings on this street actually, Elizabeth, so I do have a dead cat, or shall we say a sleeping cat. But, But yeah, so new gear, so that's exciting for me. So and hope everyone's well, by the way. Hope it's only been me who's experiencing some gremlins in the system. I hope everyone else is getting on okay. Yeah, thanks, Claire. Yeah, it did get me thinking that maybe I shouldn't overcomplicate things. But yeah, excited to show you around Stockport. It's a very, very underrated town, certainly in terms of the personality and some of the buildings. Sam had problems, did she? Oh, any specific problems with it, or Stockport of wet Sunday afternoon? Well, yeah, it was raining quite a bit up till about 10-15 minutes ago, actually. Yeah, thanks, Cynthia. Yeah, I shouldn't mess with what works, I suppose. Dave and Jared, I promised it. Oh gosh. Yeah, I'll have to look into some things when I get back home, and well, if I can help, that is. Maybe I did books and new meals as well on a day trip. Well, that's the thing, Mark. There's the old thing where you can have unlimited break of journeys when you have a return ticket on the train, and not a lot of people know that actually, and it helps cut down the costs. But yeah, I was a bit on a roll today, I like to think, on the old 4K filming. So yeah, we'll have Buxton up on the channel in 4K in the not too distant future. And what could be finer indeed, John, than Stockport on a wet Sunday afternoon? But good for the reflections on the pavements. Yeah, it is quieter than London specifically on a Sunday evening, which it is here. It's coming to 6:30 UK time. But it is a big town, this Stockport. Just sometimes gets overshadowed by Manchester due to its proximity, I suppose. Oh, Rosie, yeah, they said you live in Stockport and interested to see you on a tour, yeah. I hope you didn't get wet earlier today with the rain. Oh, yeah, that's right, it's the coronation weekend, isn't it? Or, wait, that's next in a couple of weeks, isn't it? And yeah, and this is a bit where I normally have a countdown on the old Hago app, but I'll just use my own phone's time. It says a minute to go, or just under. And then we'll commence with the formalities, as it were. May the 6th is when he's being coronated, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, okay, I think that's time to start. So hello everyone. So welcome to a lovely day in sunny Stockport, Greater Manchester. Actually, some typical Greater Manchester weather with some heavy rain earlier, but it seems to have abated a bit. But that could all change, and if that is the case, I've got my umbrella here if that needs to be done. And so I'll show you around Stockport. Just a couple of things before we start. A couple of formalities as well. So I do walking tours for my YouTube channel 4K Explorer. I've recently made the switch to live walking tours. A lot of you may know me from a platform called Hago.com, which sadly closed a couple of weeks back. So I've been doing live walking tours for about 9 months, but just I'm a bit new to the old YouTube live aspect of things. And so just so you know that this is a free walking tour, of course. If you do want to support the work in the channel, there is a way you can do that on the chat on the right hand side. Just below the text box there's a little rectangle with a $sign, and if you were to click onto that, you can either leave a super chat or a super sticker. It can be as little as £1 or $1. It doesn't matter too much there. Try not to bump into that post there. So if you And if you do so, then we can have a little game to see whether the pears or the lemons come out on top, or some other interesting pictorial representations as well. So it's all part of the fun. And on a side note, we're also looking to see about getting other former Hayo tour guides onto the monetized system as well. So with that all said, I'll just swing around the camera and show you around. So just to start things off, I normally like to give you a bit of bearings. Keep me updated on the microphone as well. It's a new microphone, so if I'm too quiet or even too loud, do let me know. Feel free, of course. Thanks, Cynthia. So to give you our bearings, we are about 170 miles north of northwest of London. We're about 6 miles southeast of Manchester, central Manchester, and we're in the county of Greater Manchester, which formed in 1974. But this used to be part of actually two separate counties, Lancashire and Cheshire. There's a bit of an interesting story as to how that came about, and it'll become a bit clear quite soon as well, and it all makes sense. But for now, I'd like to show you around some nice buildings. By the way, as well, if you want to take any screenshots, there is a plugin called Screenshot YouTube. I've linked that in the description. Now that'll allow you to take as many screenshots as you like if you're using that, and there'll be some instructions there. I believe there's also an app called Screenshot Touch, which some people have mentioned, that says it can give you screenshots on an Android, I think. And so if you want to go wild with the screenshots, you're more than welcome to. You're also welcome to share them on the old social media if you wish. So with that being the case, Lynn says you brought one from Stockport. Yeah, so I'm surprised there's so many Stocktonians. That's the demonym, I believe. So people from Stockport who've been around on hago.com this whole time, and I've just discovered by accident that is the case. So and it's a wonderful town, and I thought it'd be best if I showcase it. So starting with this building here, which is already an early clue that there's a lot of history to Stockport, and this is a building called the Three Shires, and it was built circa 1580 as a townhouse, so Elizabethan, and then they added this, they had a shop front in 1824. So right off the bat, there's some nice timber framed Elizabethan architecture for you there. Oh, Rosie brought an Altrincham. Oh, nice. So yeah, shout out to all the Greater Manchester folk watching. So it's great to be in this part of the country. I would have liked to have shown off Manchester itself, but as a lot of you'll know, the town hall is not looking at its best, which is a real pity because it is one of the most iconic buildings in the country. But it is my hope that next year I'll be able to stream the unveiling, or at least shortly after the unveiling of the town hall. And there are secret underground tunnels in Stockport. Well, it is a very intricate town, if we should say that much. I'll get into the layout, and in the meantime, here is the thumbnail image that I used for this tour. This fantastically striking building here. So we're looking at the White Lion Hotel, and originally there's a hotel here from around the 15th century, but what we're looking at now is rebuilt in 1904, and nevertheless very striking, I'm sure you'll agree. And there's a website called historicengland.co.uk, which I use a lot, and that describes this as a hearty blend of late medieval and Baroque features in a typically exuberant Edwardian fashion. But yeah, as Mark says, it has been closed for a while, which is a pity. I'm hoping they're refurbishing it, but let me know if that's the case or not. But yeah, it's unfortunately it's a bit out of action as for right now. But nevertheless, on this side of the road, I'm not going down it just yet, but I'll just give you a look at it, a sneak peek, because there is a bridge, and it gives you a little glimpse as to the crazy layout of this town. Also, it does remind me a little bit of Chester in parts. Some of you may know what I'm referring to as we get there. Just try and get those bins out of the shot there. And hold on, let me just. But yeah, so that's a little preview for where we're heading in a short while. But for now, we have another iconic timber framed building to show off. And so, like I said, it was raining earlier, so maybe there'll be a bit of reflections on the pavement, which is always nice. And so yeah, so right here we have a very old building. This is actually from the late 15th century. So it's Underbank Hall. It was used as a manor house in the 16th century, but this goes way back. So there we go, Underbank Hall. And it is still a bank, actually. It's owned by NatWest currently, one of the big banks here in the UK. And you can see there's a little plaque here, formerly the townhouse of the Ardern family of Bradbury until 1823. The house then became offices for the banking firm of Christie Lloyd and Co. and its successors. So there we are. And so now it gives me a chance to explain about the River Mersey, because believe it or not, we're about to walk towards the River Mersey. We'll actually see it, and it may take you a little bit by surprise as to how it appears. For those of you who aren't from Stockport, we are, in fact, it is a town on the River Mersey. And when I say on the River Mersey, I kind of mean in the literal sense. And so historically, the River Mersey was the boundary between Cheshire and Lancashire. And that was the case up until quite recently in 1974. So up until then, Stockport was partly in Cheshire and partly in Lancashire. And here is the river. And this, by the way, is more or less the start of the River Mersey, in the sense that it is a continuation of a confluence of two other rivers, namely the River Tame and River Goyt. And so yeah, this is pretty much the easiest bridging point of the Mersey, which made Stockport historically significant from an early period. And you can even hear the pigeons on the microphone. That's great. And so yeah, it meant that it was of note from the medieval era for that reason. And Mark says, I spent ages opening this up. It used to be covered here as well. So yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, so yeah, apparently this was all covered at one point, but now we can see the Mersey runs right underneath the town, and which is not uncommon for rivers to be buried underneath a town or indeed a city. There are several rivers in London which are underground, like the Fleet and the Westbourne and so forth. And yeah, so there's a little plaque here that explains a few things. There's Lancashire Bridge, which are on, first mentioned in 1282, crossing point between Cheshire and Lancashire, which gave Stockport its importance. This bridge dates from 1891. So in other words, pre-1974, I could say right now that I'm in Cheshire, and then I could say I'm in Lancashire. But then they created Greater Manchester, so you can't say that anymore. But yeah, it got me thinking about the old Jerry and the Pacemaker song, "Ferry Across the Mersey." But why take a ferry when you can just walk across the Mersey here in Stockport? But then I also have a theory that Ferry Across the Mersey was about Birkenhead, and that Jerry just had a love of visiting Pyramid Shopping Centre in Birkenhead. But I can't prove that. But without ragging on Birkenhead too much, let's move on, because we have a fascinating town to explore some more. And in the meantime, just so you know, this bit here is essentially a shopping centre called Mersey Way, because it's literally above the Mersey. You always said Cheshire because it's posher. Well, yeah, that's probably the case. And yeah, they made it all a bit confusing with the counties, didn't they? But there we are. So now we'll begin to see just how crazy the layout of this town is. Some would say, when it comes to towns and cities that were laid out in the Saxon times or medieval times, that they are higgledy-piggledy in terms of they weren't big on grid systems, so they have these random windy roads. But in the case of Stockport, you could say that it's higgledy-piggledy in 3 dimensions. That'll become a bit more clear in a moment. As you can see, we're already walking up a hilly path, and so we are just heading towards the market hall, which dates from the 1860s. So this right here, it's a cast iron covered market hall. As I say, it goes back to the 1860s, and it still operates as an indoor market. In fact, it became the winner of the best small indoor market in 2023, so well done to Stockport. You can have a little peek inside. It's closed now. And then over here, we have a nice little photo opportunity of St Mary's Church, which goes back a while. So originally there was a church on this site since 1190, although this one's not quite as old as that. It was built from the early 14th century. However, only the chancel remains. The rest was rebuilt in between 1813 and 1817. The chancel, by the way, being the part where the clergy and the choir go, whereas the nave is where the congregation go, just in case anyone's wondering about the technical terms there. Used to be a bit out of the market on Saturdays, not as good as it used to be. But yeah, so this church is really rather striking, and it's visible from many vantage points in the town itself, and I shall demonstrate that as we go around. Plenty of fish and chip places, yeah, it's always important. And so, I've seen A Taste of Honey was filmed by the church. I don't know that one, but there it is. Oh, you're seeing on the left is Staircase House. I'll be honest, I'm not sure of the Staircase House. I'm not even sure what the significance of that is actually, but here it is. Where all buildings that are. And then over this way there's a nice little shop, which I was quite amused by some of the I don't know what the right word is, but displays, posters I suppose, but give you a little peek. Oh, I just spotted this one now. She'll carry it on through it all. She's a waterfall. Nice Stone Roses reference there. And this one I like. Move over, Peaky Blinders. Here come the Top Hatters. So Stockport County Football Club. They are nicknamed the Hatters due to the Hatters trade that was big in Stockport, which I'll elaborate on later. And then over this side, this is not a bath, this is a bath. This is the north. I'm quite right too. And what else? Oh yeah, this is a bit of a reflection, but there's a picture of Stockport on quite an eventful day, if you can see that. The day when it got invaded by some sort of dinosaur Godzilla hybrid, something like that. That's right, John. Luton are also the Hatters for the same reason. They were also big on the hat trade back in the day. So more interesting buildings to talk about this way. So we have the Bull's Head, and there's a plaque explaining the significance. The only thing is the plaque's a bit tall. It's a bit above eye level, unless you happen to be a giraffe, which I'm not, but I can at least try and use the zoom function. But yeah, if I squint, it says the Grade 2 listed building, scene of radical political agitation in the early 19th century. Radicals Henry Orator Hunt, Fergus O'Connor, and reformer Richard Cobden gave speeches here. And Richard Cobden, by the way, there's a statue of him further on in the town, which I'll explain. And then, yeah, like I said, it's a quiet Sunday evening in Stockport. Does tend to get a bit quiet in the evenings, but it's still a big town. Over 100,000 people live here, and we've got a few nice buildings here. And this one here with the sandy colour is the produce hall. It dates back from, I believe, 1852, and that has been home to some meat and fish markets, cheese stalls, sweet shops, and even a public library. And now we're just coming up to a bridge, and not just an ordinary bridge either. So I come up to St. Peter's Gate Bridge, and this is where the layout of the town gets a bit interesting. So we come up to a bridge that opened in 1868, made of cast iron with 5 brick arches. And for those of you who know Chester, the city of Chester, this has some shades of Chester, I'd say personally, on the older Eastgate Street Bridge there, but this is a sort of a smaller kind of version, if you like. No town walls as such, but you've got this little bit here overlooking the street below. Am I near an airport or a train line? Well, the nearest airport, I suppose, is Manchester. So we're about 6 miles southeast of Manchester, for reference. And there's a train station in Stockport, of course. And I also have a chance to demonstrate how crazy the layout is some more. So what I'll do now is just walk down these steps. I thought we could hear it. Oh, there is a railway viaduct. I don't know if that might be reverberating in the background, possibly. Oh, is it the flight path? Is that right? That could be the case, yeah. So now we're doing a little walk. Again, this has shades of Chester, for those who know. So walking under the bridge and then through the bridge, and again, just demonstrates how unique Stockport is, really, as we have a little walk through this very interesting layout. So as we proceed on through it, just give me a chance to talk about the early history of Stockport. Stockport, by the way, comes from Old English meaning castle in the wood, castle like a stockade, presumably referring to a Roman stronghold of sorts from back in the day. Here's a nice mural. Oh, what do you know? Right on cue, there's that aeroplane referring to, it's Emirates. So yeah, that confirms that we are the flight path. And so yeah, it was granted a market charter back in the 13th century, and then from the 18th century it became a mill town, essentially. In fact, in 1732, the first silk mill powered by water in the northwest was opened here in Stockport, so powered by the Mersey itself. And of course, it was in 1717 that Derby was home to the first water-powered silk mill, so Stockport followed in its footsteps and essentially became a prototype textile town. And again, for those of you who know the northwest or indeed West Yorkshire, you'll know it's all wall-to-wall mill towns from back in the days. How far from London am I, Lisa? I'm about 170 miles north of northwest of London, and you can fly to the US from Manchester International Airport. So yeah, it's a great place to visit. So I've been in nearby Derbyshire today. Some great towns like Buxton and Chapel on the Frith and New Mills and so forth. And yeah, it's been a privilege visiting here. And Now we're just demonstrating some more crazy layout of the town. And so yeah, so like I said, it had a silk industry from early days, and then later on other industry, which we'll talk about. But I'll say that for when we come up to the mill in question, of course, referring to the hatting industry. Oh, thank you, Diane. Thank you. And the pear. Oh, thank you. And yeah, it got me thinking: are there any other towns or cities in the UK like Stockport in terms of its layout? Because there really aren't many that spring to mind in terms of this crazy MC Escher-like layout. Oh, there's a brewery. Yeah, so yeah, I think there might be a few breweries that we can. Yeah, I'll just do a hairpin turn here anyway, so I'll see it. Yeah, we had the Unicorn Brewery. Of course, brewing being another industry in the town. Oh, thank you, Cynthia. Thank you. And look at that iconic old text. I'll just zoom. And then, of course, there's St Mary's Church popping out. St Mary's all often wanting to be getting in the shots, as we'll see, moving around this town. And it really is quite an iconic church as well. But yeah, it's very hard to think of other towns that kind of loop through itself, sort of thing, like they do here. And yeah, do feel free to keep me updated on the picture with regard to buffering and so forth. 10cc from Stockport, are they? Alright. Oh, thanks, Cheryl. Oh, very nice. But yeah, like I say, I'll be able to, all things going to plan, I'll be able to watch this back, so I'll evaluate how the picture turns out and see if there are any issues to iron out there. We are still in the infancy of live streaming on YouTube, so do bear with us on that front, and we'll keep a lookout for the other guides as well. I'm hoping they'll be up and flying before long. Oh, thanks, Sean. Thank you. Ah, good old pair. Oh, 10cc from Strawberry Studios near here. I didn't even know that, and I'm learning every day. So thanks, Mark. And yeah, it's always great to hear about bands' origin stories. So yeah, and then as you can see, we are just coming back up to that very bridge where we were. Yeah, right. You want a picture? We're good. Friendly locals there. So yeah, so we've come back onto the bridge that we were at, as I say. So we've gone around in a loop there. Your brother went to school with the niece of one of 10cc. Oh wow! Oh, I love that. But yeah, of course, Stockport is, as I say, 6 miles from Manchester. Manchester has made huge contributions to music, of course, with the likes of the Smiths, New Order, Stone Roses, Happy Mondays, and of course Oasis, and of course it was Manchester that launched the Madchester Baggy scene, which is one of the reasons why I titled this tour Mad Hatters Town, as a little play on words, and as both as a nod to the town itself, mad being in a complimentary sense, of course, because not only is the layout mad, but there's something very charming about it as well, which I love. A unique town, for sure. And so we're just heading into a square, and there is a statue of Richard Cobden, which I'll tell you about. I'll just see if there's anyone who might be potentially likely to heckle me if that's the case, because it is a square that sometimes people of a certain type congregate at, but we'll wing it. And oh yes, right, Cynthia. So Natalie helped me get this on the calendar back in this was my first batch of tours. So yeah, it's all exciting stuff going forward there. So in fact, the statue is coming up. I'll just give you a little background as to Richard Cobden and who he was. He was born in 1804 in Sussex, actually, but he moved to Manchester, where he started a calico printing business. Calico being a type of woven textile, and so he started that up in his 20s. It went all right for him, of course, and then he travelled the world. And then he wrote a pamphlet advocating for free trade, peace, non-interventionism, all those good things. And then he became a member of Parliament for Stockport between 1841 and 1847. And in 1846 he helped to repeal the Corn Laws, which was a kind of taxes on imported grain. So it meant that more people could get the food on the table. And oh yeah, no worries, Mark. So I tend to kill two birds with one stone. So I've been doing some filming for the YouTube in terms of the pre-recorded videos that I do in 4K. So, but yeah, here's the man himself, Richard Cobden, advocate of free trade, and here he is overlooking his constituent town. Of course, from Sussex originally, but he represented Stockport in Parliament, and a few other places as well. There's also a statue of him in Manchester, St Anne's Square, which some of you may know. Also one of him in Camden Town. Oh, thank you, Bob. Thank you. Yeah, with regard to getting more tours on the calendar, there's well, it depends if all the tour guides are sort of signed up to the service or not. It looks like more are being added, but yeah, if anyone's having any issues with that, that's something to be addressed, of course. But on that note, by the way, I've just added another tour that I'm doing myself on the 4th of May. So May the 4th be with you, so it's easy to remember. I'll be in Bristol, the great city where Blackbeard came from. So if you're interested in pirates and all those other good stuff, like unlike the industrialists like Brunel, then Bristol is kind of the place to be. Was he the free trader? If you mean Richard Cobden, then yeah, he was an advocate of free trade and less taxes on grain, of course, so that more people could eat and there was less profiteering, I suppose. But here's a nice shot of a chimney stack of a mill from the 1830s. So yeah, I should probably address the hat question, as it were. So there has been a hat making industry in Stockport since the 17th century. It started out as a cottage industry, as they tended to do back then, but it developed. They slowly gained a reputation for producing quality headgear, and by the early 19th century some mills were beginning to spring up, like this one here. It says Wellington Mill. It's now a museum, of course. You do your art classes out in the museum? Oh wow. But yeah, so the museum, it documents the evolution of the industry, of course, and well, it's closed today, but and there's another plane going past there. But yeah, so by 1884, there were over 6 million hats per year manufactured here in Stockport, with over 100 hat factories in and around the town. And so it's pretty much on top of the whole country. I think it even eclipsed Luton, who we mentioned before. And so we're just heading onto a busy street, but hoping the new mic is holding up okay. So we're just heading to one final landmark of the tour, and that is of course the town hall, which you can already see at the end of the shot, but we'll give you a close look. But I'll just say for now, this is the town hall that Hats built, essentially. It was built in the Edwardian era from 1904 to 1908. I'll elaborate on that, but it'll just give you an idea of the grandiosity, if that's the right word, of Stockport from back in the day. Oh, thank you, Deirdre, thank you. Good old pair. Also, by the way, I should shout out Emma in the Nordic countries. There, right? 4K Explorer. That's the one, yeah. Oh, nice. Weltis, there is something on top of it which could be deemed some kind of hat, but we'll just be heading that way. So yeah, like I say, Emma, I think her channel was the Hidden North, and I see that she had the monetization on, which was I was delighted to see. And oh yeah, Marcus, yes, yeah, there's quite a lot to Stockport, isn't there? Oh, thank you, Anne, thank you. And yeah, hoping the signal's okay. Maybe just saw that it was stuttering a bit, but I'm sure it's nothing too hectic there. I need a t-shirt with my info on it. Yeah, exactly, Elizabeth. But yeah, actually I got stopped by a couple of people in Derbyshire today, and they were very friendly about me out with my 4K camera. So Derbyshire is a very friendly county, I'll say that much. This, by the way, is Greater Manchester. I'm referring to Derbyshire, where I was just earlier. So yeah, so it'll give you some nice closing shots for the tour as we get up to the town hall very shortly. So yeah, safe to cross. Oh, Stockport College. On the left, you say. Whereabouts? I need some local knowledge. Where's the college there? I'll just pad around anyway. So further up. Oh, do you mean if I zoom? Oh, past the town hall. Okay. Well, it's like Samuel Johnson said, when you're tired of Stockport, you're tired of life, or something like that. But it's a town that takes you by surprise. I was genuinely quite surprised in a good way when I came here, because I'm fortunate in the sense that by the virtue of what I do, I kind of force myself to visit as many towns as I can. Not that it's a chore in any way, in fact I love doing it. But when a place like Stockport throws me a real curveball, it really sticks with me. And so, yeah, it's a privilege to be able to relay that experience in this medium as we're doing. And I hope to do so for many other tours as well. Even though the heygo.com may be gone, the Heygo community is alive and well. The spirit is very much alive, and that is the main thing, of course. And if you don't know what heygo.com is, like I say, it's a platform that didn't survive the David versus Goliath fight, if you like, with the older live streaming space. But so yeah, we are looking at Stockport Town Hall, built from 1904 to 1908, which, by the way, is about the half the time it's taking to refurbish Manchester Town Hall, which is kind of ridiculous, but I'll be delighted to stream Manchester once they finally finished with the refurb work with the Town Hall. Yeah, like I say, it's just a very busy road, so it will be a bit noisy. Nothing much I can do about that, but just seeing if there's any other buildings I should point out, really. But this one, yeah, it is pretty striking, I have to say. It's the English Baroque style. So in the Edwardian era, they revived the Baroque style, much like previous architectural styles have been revived, like neo-Gothic before that, neo-classical before that in turn. And they have to say, they knew how to build back then. Now I'm just wondering for all the Stoptonians out there, I love that demonym, by the way, is there anything that I've missed before I call it a day for this stream? There is a nice building here I should perhaps point out. Again, looks like neoclassical style with the older Corinthian columns there. I'm just pan around this way in case there are any other. Oh, wait. Have both good and bad memories. Oh. Well, I like to think we can accentuate the positive and eliminate the negative, as the old song goes. A rowdy bunch. Yeah, I mean, you get a few times here, but it's all good. I should probably say thank you so much for coming out here to Stockport, and again, thanks for bearing with me on the technical issues I had the other day. I shall stick to what works, in my case Streamlabs, which is the app for YouTube. So if the picture's been okay, we can attribute that to Streamlabs. And if there are any other guides out there who are still having issues in that regard, I'll do my utmost to help myself. So currently, fresh about the tips, there's yeah, so there's a dollar with the rectangle that can be clicked through, but that can be dealt with another day. It's all good. Oh, thank you, Deborah. Thank you. Thanks very much. And Catherine, thank you. Oh, very nice. I'm not on Buy Me a Copy, Lisa, but I do have a PayPal link if you're interested, but it's in the description. But again, it's all a super tenuous bunch anyway. And it's been a privilege showing around this, like I say, curveball of a town that is Stockport. I hope I've given you some idea of what it is. It's one of those towns that gets sort of overlooked in favour of Manchester in this case, for this in that proximity. But unlike Manchester, it has its town hall very much intact, and there's something to be said for that. And oh wow, thank you, Poppy. Thank you. And like I say, I have another tour scheduled for Bristol on the 4th of May. But I'll also be scheduling a couple of other tours as well. Not finalising anything yet, but I'll just say for now, there may be a couple of other cities beginning with B in the pipeline. And on that bombshell, it's been an absolute privilege. Again, support the other guides where you can, and I'll also say have a great remainder of your Sunday and have a great week ahead. Until the next time, all the very best. From me, from Stockport, signing out. And I'll try and end it as slickly as I can, so I'll just say goodbye for now.